All right, learners, welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're going into some of the cool stuff that came out of the Wix Wiz community in January 2025.
Yeah, it was a busy month for sure. Lots of great resources.
Like what specifically caught your eye?
Well, I think a good place to start is the blog post they did on adding data filters to a Wix site.
Oh, yeah. That's something I feel like every Wix user needs to at least consider.
Right. Like, I think every website could benefit from it in some way.
Because it makes it easier to find stuff so you're not just scrolling endlessly.
Exactly. And they use a really nice, relatable example of a car collection, filtering by make, model, year, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw that, and I don't even have a car collection, but I totally got it.
And they actually walk you through two different approaches.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They start off with the no-code approach, like just using Wix's built-in tools to create simple drop-down filters.
Yeah, so you can get that basic functionality up and running pretty quickly.
But then they take it a step further, right?
Right, they show you how to use Velo to create these interdependent filters.
Okay, so can you give me an example of what that would look like in action?
Okay, so imagine you have that car collection website and someone selects Cadillac from the make filter.
Okay.
The model filter would then automatically update to only show Cadillac models.
Oh, that's smart. So you're not seeing a bunch of models that don't even apply to the make you've selected.
Exactly. It streamlines the whole filtering process, and they actually provide all the Velo code in the blog post.
That's awesome. So even if you're not a coding expert, you can just copy and paste and play around with it.
Exactly.
I love it when they do that. They even go into detail about adding a clear button for the filters displaying the number of results.
Well, yeah, and customizing the new matching items message so it feels more personalized.
It's those little details that make a big difference in terms of user experience.
Definitely. No, speaking of user experience, we also took a look at some of their new YouTube tutorials this month.
Okay, so what stood out to you there?
Well, one that I thought was really well done was the data filtering no code tutorial.
Okay, so the no-code approach, but in video format.
Exactly. And what I really liked about it was that it covered both Wix Studio and the classic editor.
So no matter which platform you're using, you're good to go.
Yeah. And they do a great job of not just showing you how to do it, but also explaining how it all works behind the scenes.
Oh, that's important.
Right. They talk about data sets, which are essentially the backbone of your Wix content.
So all the information that powers your pages is stored in these data sets.
Exactly. And the key takeaway here is that filtering actually happens at the data set level, not on the visual element itself.
Okay, so what does that mean practically?
Well, they demonstrate this by connecting both a repeater and a table to the same data set.
Okay.
When you change the filter, both elements update simultaneously.
Oh, that's a cool visual. That really helps to understand how that all works.
Right, and then they go on to talk about different types of filters. You can use drop-downs, radio buttons, checkboxes, even selection tags for multi-select filtering.
So it's a pretty comprehensive overview of the no-code filtering options in Wix.
Yeah, but of course you can't get that same level of interdependence between filters without using some Velo.
Which brings us to the Velo tutorials, right?
Oh yeah, this is where things get really interesting.
Lay it on me.
All right, well, the currency converter tutorial was a bit of a wild ride.
Okay, how so?
They start off by showing you the built-in currency converter in Wix stores, which is pretty straightforward, just a simple drop-down to display different currencies.
Yeah, seems easy enough.
But there's a catch. It relies on external exchange rates, so it might not always be accurate, and it only works with Wix stores.
Oh, so if you're not using Wix stores, or if you need more control over the exchange rates,
you got to go the Velo route, and that's exactly what they show you how to do.
Okay, so how does it work with Velo?
Well, they use query parameters, which is a way to pass information within a web address to dynamically change the displayed currency.
Sounds pretty technical.
It is, but they explain it really well, and then they throw you a curveball.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
They ask you how you would actually determine the user's location to display the correct currency.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You don't want to be showing US dollars to someone in Europe.
Exactly, and they leave that as an exercise for the viewer, which I think is a great way to encourage people to apply what they've learned.
Yeah, it gets you thinking beyond just following a tutorial and solving real-world problems.
And they don't stop there. The tutorial actually goes beyond Wix stores, showing you how to use Velo to convert any price on your site, even if it's not connected to an app.
Now we're talking.
Right. This is where Wix's Convert Currency API comes into play. But here's the twist. The initial code they provide actually has a bug in it.
Wait a minute. Even the experts make mistakes.
Oh, yeah, of course. But that's part of the learning process, and they don't shy away from it. They walk you through the entire debugging process, showing you how to identify the issue and find a solution.
That's so valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to encounter bugs in the real world, so it's great to see how they approach problem solving.
Right, and they even use ChatGPT to help them debug, which is pretty cool.
So they're embracing the power of AI.
Exactly. The final output might still need some tweaking, but the key takeaway is don't be afraid to experiment, make mistakes, and find solutions.
That's where the real learning happens.
Now, before we get too deep into coding, let's talk about something a little more visual, mega menus.
Ooh, I love a good mega menu.
Right. They released a tutorial on creating data-driven mega menus, which are those fancy drop-down menus that can showcase a ton of content in a really organized way.
Yeah, they can really elevate the look and feel of your site.
Exactly. And they start off with a quick overview of adding mega menus in both Wix Studio and the classic editor, just to reassure users that the concepts are the same across platforms.
So no matter which editor you're using, you're good to go.
Then they focus specifically on data-driven mega menus using Wix Store products.
This is like next-level navigation for your online store.
Right. In the classic editor tutorial, they use no-code datasets to filter products by category. They show you how to connect the category image and filter the product repeater all in one go.
So if you change the category image in your Wix dashboard, it automatically updates on the site.
Exactly. No more manual fiddling.
And in the Wix Studio tutorial, they use Velo to achieve a similar result.
It's slightly more complex, but offers more flexibility.
Okay, so you have options depending on your coding comfort level.
They do point out a potential scalability challenge, though.
Oh, what's that?
Each mega menu needs unique element IDs, so simply duplicating them doesn't work perfectly.
That makes sense.
But true to form, they offer potential solutions like using naming conventions or numeric mapping.
So they get you thinking critically about how to approach those challenges.
It's all about empowering users to solve problems and build amazing things with Wix, whether you prefer the no-code route or you're ready to dive into the world of Velo.
And that's what I love about the Wix Wiz community. They cater to users of all skill levels.
Speaking of which, we can't forget about the Wix Wiz forum.
Ah, yes, the heart and soul of the community.
It's where users from all walks of life come together to ask questions, share solutions, and learn from each other's experiences.
It's a treasure trove of real-world problem solving.
And that's exactly what we're going to dive into next.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so let's jump into some of these juicy forum threads. What was the first one that caught your eye?
Well, there was one titled Connect Wix Comments to Ratings Display that I thought was really interesting.
Okay, so what was the user trying to achieve there?
Basically, they wanted to display comment ratings instead of traditional product reviews, like you see on a product page.
I see. So instead of using the Wix Reviews app, which is specifically designed for products.
Exactly. They wanted to pull the ratings from the comments themselves.
Oh, that's clever. So like if someone leaves a comment and gives it a 4-star rating.
You could then display that 4-star rating next to the comment.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what was the solution?
Well, the ratings display element just needs a number as input.
Okay.
So they use the Wix Comments API to pull the rating data from the comments.
So they're basically extracting the rating number and feeding it into the ratings display.
Exactly. Problem solved.
I love it when it's that simple.
It really highlights how you can combine different elements and APIs in Wix to create custom solutions.
Yeah, it's not always about following a step-by-step tutorial. Sometimes you have to think outside the box.
Now, another user was having trouble connecting a custom catalog to Wix stores.
Oh, yeah, I saw that thread. That can be a tricky one.
They kept getting the dreaded cannot read properties of undefined error.
Oof, I know that feeling.
But what I appreciated about this thread was how clearly the user asked for help.
Yeah, they provided all the necessary information. Their code, the error messages.
Exactly, so the experts could easily jump in and figure out what was going on.
And what was the culprit in the end?
It turned out to be a subtle bug. The user was passing the string producted instead of the actual product ID.
Oh, wow, that's easy to miss.
It's a classic coding error, but it just goes to show that even experienced developers make mistakes.
And that's why the forum is so valuable. You can learn from other people's experiences and get help when you're stuck.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on. There was another thread about creating different members' dashboards.
Oh, interesting. So like if you have different types of members on your site.
Exactly, like parents, teachers, students.
You want to give them each a personalized experience.
Right, and the Wix Wiz provided a really clear approach for how to achieve this.
I'm all ears.
They suggested using Velo to get the member data using the members API.
Okay.
Then you can determine the member's type based on roles collection membership or some other criteria.
So once you know who the member is.
You can then conditionally show or hide specific sections of the dashboard.
Ah, I see. So like a parent might see different options than a teacher.
Exactly. Or you could even redirect users to entirely different pages based on their member type.
That's really powerful. It opens up a lot of possibilities for creating customized membership experiences.
Now, another user had a challenge that I think a lot of people can relate to.
What to that?
They wanted to know how to automatically end a listing when a pricing plan ends.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So, like, if someone's membership expires
Their listings would automatically disappear from the site.
and they wouldn't have to manually go in and remove them.
Exactly. So they discussed both Velo and no-code options for achieving this.
Let's start with the Velo approach.
For the coders out there, they recommended using the pricing plans API, specifically hooking into the cancellation event,
Okay.
and then updating the listing in the database accordingly.
So when a plan is canceled,
Yeah,
the listing is automatically removed.
exactly. Now for the no-code folks,
Yeah, what was their solution?
they suggested using two separate data sets, one for listings and another for plan orders,
Okay.
and then filtering the listings based on the order status.
So if an order is canceled, the listing would be hidden.
It might not be a perfect solution, but it's a good starting point for those who aren't comfortable with Velo.
Yeah, and it encourages experimentation, trying different approaches and seeing what works best.
Now, this next thread is for the coding enthusiasts out there.
There, hit me with it.
Someone asked if it was possible to read the contents of a visitor's clipboard using Velo.
Oh, wow, that's a pretty advanced request.
Velo doesn't have a direct API for that.
So how do they pull it off?
Well, they provided the code for a custom element that uses the browser's clipboard API.
Okay, so they're tapping into the browser's functionality.
Exactly, but they also emphasize the importance of user permissions.
Yeah, you don't want to be accessing someone's clipboard without their consent.
Absolutely. It's a sensitive topic, and they handled it very responsibly.
Good to hear. Now let's switch gears to something a little less technical.
Sure.
There was a thread about recurring payments for the tip widget.
Oh, yeah, that's a popular feature.
People love to support creators.
Right, and this user wanted to know if it was possible to set up recurring payments through the tip widget.
So like instead of just a one-time tip?
You could have people subscribe to a monthly or yearly donation.
That's a great idea for building sustainable income.
They suggested using either Wix pricing plans or a third-party payment provider that supports recurring payments.
So again, you have options depending on your needs and preferences.
Exactly, and finally there was a thread about sharing data between sites.
Oh, that can be a challenge, especially when you're dealing with sensitive information.
This particular user wanted to securely pass a member's email address from a non-Wix site to a Wix course.
Okay, so they're not using Wix's LMS platform.
Right, and they needed a way to do this securely.
So what was the solution?
They recommended using a query parameter in the redirect URL, but instead of sending the raw email address, they suggested hashing it with a secret key.
Okay, so they're essentially encrypting the email address.
Exactly, and then on the Wix side, you would decipher it using the same key.
That's a smart way to ensure the email address remains protected during transit.
And they even hinted at even more secure options if navigation between sites wasn't necessary.
Wow, so they really went above and beyond to provide a comprehensive solution.
It's that kind of dedication that makes the Wix Wiz community so special.
So much good stuff coming out of the Wix Wiz community lately. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, they've been busy.
But that's a good thing. It means there's always something new to learn.
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from all of this is just to not be afraid to experiment,
Like, don't be afraid to try new things, even if you're not sure how they work.
Right. And don't worry about making mistakes. That's part of the learning process.
And if you do get stuck,
The Wix Wiz community is there to help.
with their blog posts, YouTube tutorials, and of course that amazing forum.
There's so much knowledge and experience in that community. It's a fantastic resource.
So if you're a Wix user and you're not already plugged into the Wix Wiz world,
I highly recommend checking it out.
you'll be amazed at what you can learn and the connections you can make.
And I think it's important to remember that this is just a glimpse into what's possible with Wix.
There are so many other features and tools out there waiting to be explored.
So keep learning, keep building, and keep pushing the boundaries of what you can create.
Until next time, happy Wixing.